another Brave Attempt training session. This time we're going to dive into the AI tool Gemini and specifically how it can be used with Google Docs. Let's get to it. Hey there everybody, my name is Sean and I am a STEM educator and administrator in New York City Public Schools. I work with some amazing students and teachers here. Today we're going to be diving into the world of Gemini, a powerful AI tool that can be a game changer in a lot of situations for us. Now, you've all probably been using AI in a number of formats, whether it's chatting with Alexa, getting online, shopping suggestions on Amazon, or on your social media feed, right? And maybe you're thinking that AI that's generative might be slightly more complicated, and there's some truth to that, it can be, but it's also an incredible tool that can help us learn more and grow in a lot of ways. You can think of Gemini a bit as a smart assistant that can help you with writing or researching, problem solving, those kinds of things. But to be honest, AI is not perfect. It can sometimes make mistakes. It can misunderstand things. That's why it's important to use it carefully and to do it critically. So we're going to explore how to do that today, focusing on how Gemini can specifically help us within Google Docs. Different things that Gemini can do for you, including using it for content creation, research, and creative applications. Gemini itself is a type of artificial intelligence called a large language model. It's been trained on a bunch of text data so it can understand and generate human-like text, which means it can help us write, translate languages, write different kinds of creative content, answer your questions in an informative way. Now, AI tools like Gemini can be incredibly helpful for students with disabilities or struggling readers or really anyone who needs help with an idea. But it's essential to remember that AI is a tool, not a replacement for human thought and creativity. We need to use it wisely and ethically, and I highly recommend taking Google's course for AI literacy early in your exploration. To begin, let's understand Google also has different models for using Gemini independently or integrating it into your education workspace. Before we dive directly into Docs, let's spend a moment directly in Gemini. If you've never written prompts before or have struggled to get the results you've wanted in the past, let me just advise quickly on how to create quality prompts. Go ahead and write or use voice to text when creating a prompt by having it speak as naturally as you would with a friend without any of the jargon. Be specific about what you want, how you want it presented, how it should be formatted, and use important keywords if necessary. But don't ramble on either with too much information. Keep it clear, concise, give it context. Tell Gemini if you want it to act like a 7th grade social studies teacher from Nebraska and that the audience is a parent of a struggling student. Give examples if possible, and it is an iterative process. If the output is imperfect, let it know how to correct it. In this final section, we're going to explore two concepts that may seem a little disparate, but they do go together importantly. First off, how can Gemini help us add creativity to some of what we're making? And then how can we make it accessible for all of our students? Let's begin our deep dive into creativity by simple image generation. Now, you remember that research I did asking about lightning. So using that example, I'm going to say create an image of the Empire State Building being struck by lightning. And when I get my images, I have a few options. I can select the one I want, bring it into the document, and of course adjust it like any other image you would bring into your text, cropping it, resizing it, etc. We can do it for all sorts of materials. Like this lesson I created for a biology class, I can go ahead and grab images that maybe I want to use later in slides, or maybe I'll use as part of a study guide, or maybe could be used with flashcards that students create. I can use one or more of the images in my document. Oh, and that AI ethics course, I definitely need to find some appropriate images for that. But this first one that it created seems a little too sinister, and I want a different look for this. So I ask it to refine the image, making the android look a little more friendly, more cartoon-like. You can put in specific style choices that you want for the images that it is creating. These all definitely work better, but I think I like the sort of sad look of the one in the hood. I'm going to use that. One other way that you can help with your creative output is to have it start generating outlines for slide presentations. Create images for those slide presentations. Go ahead and get the way you're going to share information with students meaningfully. Hey, you want to make a video? You can even have it write the script for you. I'll let you know that Gemini even helped me put together a few pieces for this presentation as well. And it gave me ideas for what visuals might work before I even started recording anything, which saved me a lot of time. Administrators need to be a bit creative too. I can have it help me draft individual newsletters, or I can have it help me create an entire communication plan. This plan is pretty thorough. It's got key messages, timeline, communication channels, even a way to evaluate how it did. Obviously, we'll need to make some changes so it works perfectly for our situation, but this is a real time saver. Let's think about accessibility features. Making sure technology is accessible for all students is crucial. Google Docs offers various accessibility features itself, like text-to-speech, speech-to-text, and adjustable font sizes. You can combine these with Gemini's capabilities, and you have a powerful tool for students with diverse needs. However, it is important to be aware of potential biases in AI. Gemini might generate text that reinforces stereotypes or harmful biases. Always critically evaluate the output and discuss these issues with your students. Feedback is crucial for student development, and Google already provides ways to expedite that process through the feedback bank in Google Classroom. But I'm going to use Gemini to make it go even more smoothly. I want to give complex feedback to students that really speaks to their work, and I can use Gemini to go ahead and preview and review the student's work, like this poem, for example, and then it gives me meaningful feedback that I can share with the student. The feedback not only reviews areas where the student's succeeding, but areas that they could focus to improve their work more. This will help my student refine their skills. Of course, I'm going to change it a little and add a few other comments to make it more precise. You should always review what the AI generates. Here we go. Accurate and actionable feedback is crucial for our struggling learners. As a student, I might want to focus on having to create study cards so I can find new ways to learn the material. But for some students, that might not be enough. We might need materials that are written in both English and Spanish, and I can have it go ahead and create study cards that work for both. Now, you'll likely want to have somebody experienced review the translations, but this is an amazing way that students can independently prepare themselves despite having significant challenges to their learning. I can go ahead and make sure that my materials are accessible from the get-go. Let's have it craft a lesson plan, or even use one of our old lesson plans and adapt it, so that way we can make it more meaningful to our students. I'm going to make sure this one speaks to my student interests. I know a lot of them are really big fans of Minecraft. So capitalization isn't always a fun thing to study, but maybe I can make it more enticing to my students by including something that is interesting to them. More so, I'm going to make sure I include differentiated materials that give additional support to my struggling learners, as well as extensions for my students who are more advanced in the topic. This lesson plan is pretty solid. I'm going to need to make some minor changes to adjust for my specific classroom materials. Now, I want to go ahead and create work for my students to do to see how well they've learned the materials after we study it. Now, this worksheet, again, is going to be related to Minecraft, and I want to specifically have 3 different levels of the worksheet created. This way I can make sure it's leveled to the different groups of my students and their individual needs. Well, this is a nice overview, but it only gives me a few examples for each level, so I'm going to let it know to give me more examples for the various levels, specifically level 1 and 2, since level 3 is a writing exercise. I can go ahead and make even more suggestions and changes, having it refine it while it's still being previewed. But I can continue to use Gemini to refine it after the fact, even when it's in the document, selecting specific areas for Gemini to take a look at. Yes, those will definitely work better. I can go ahead and look back and forth through my different options here, just like I have before. I can make some other changes if I'd like, but if I'm ready, I can go ahead and insert it and change them after the fact if I choose to. Another example of accessibility is using speech-to-text in Docs.
I hate wet and rainy days.
Now, I might have a student who's a reluctant writer, and they're using voice-to-text to tell their story the first time through. there's sure to be a lot of errors and the paragraph might not turn out that great. But I can go ahead and then, but this is valuable to me because it is still that student's voice. And now Gemini can go ahead and review that and offer a suggested and improved version. Now, I don't want my student to hand in a document that just has their original spoken version and the AI generated one. No, I think instead I'm going to have them use those two together and see if over time we can't refine it a little bit, or they can use the support of AI along with their own voice to create a more powerful third revised version. How you allow students to use AI and the format in which you do it, whether it's original, whether it's reviewed, whether it's refined, is entirely up to you. But there are a myriad number of ways that your students can be supported and you can make learning more accessible for them through the use of generative AI like Gemini. All right, we've gone through task 3 now. We've learned how to be creative and make learning accessible for our students. So now I want you to take that task on yourself, create a differentiated lesson plan. Again, you can choose the topic. Go ahead and import any existing materials you would like to help. Then ask Gemini to include additional exercises to support students with disabilities and extension activities to challenge advanced learners. That can include topic questions at various learning levels, as was demonstrated. Thanks again for joining me. I hope you realize now how much Gemini is a powerful tool that can enhance our writing and our research and even allow us to be more creative. And Google is bringing even more to the forefront that they'll announce soon. But remember that it is a tool, it is not a magic wand. We need to use it thoughtfully and critically. If we understand its strengths and its limitations, we can harness the power of AI to support our learning and growth. And I hope you enjoy exploring and experimenting with Gemini in Docs and all other places in Google Workspace. Take care.